And this is the astrological forecast for AskTheAnswer.com, brought to you by the wonderful people at Ask the Answer, the UK's leading website for tarot readers, psychics, mystics and channelers. AskTheAnswer.com came into life when the first phone call was made to an Ask the Answer operative, and this happened on the 3rd of January 2008 at 11 minutes past 3 in the afternoon in Cambridge in the UK. This is the moment when Ask the Answer made its first public phone call, and this is the moment of birth for Ask the Answer. Now, in Ask the Answer's horoscope, there's a number of real positives. There's also a few stinkers. So let's deal with the stinkers first of all. When Ask the Answer was born, Mars in the sky, retrograde in Gemini, was opposite Pluto. Now, when I see this in an individual's chart, I often end up talking to them about anger management and the need to involve themselves in some type of martial arts in a way that brings not only physical control but also mental control. But Mars was retrograde in Gemini, the sign of communication, and when Mars is retrograde, it's all about using one's power to empower others as much as oneself. And retrograde in Gemini means that Mars's retrograde energy being used to empower others is done in a communicative way. With the opposition to Pluto, whilst this can involve a really deep psychological insight into other people's behavioural patterns, it also creates a degree of stamina and resolve to get to the bottom of things no matter what the challenge. In Ask the Answer's horoscope, Venus was also square Saturn. Now, this is one of those aspects which makes the individual born old, and they get younger as they get older. They grow old disgracefully. In an organisation's chart, it's a bit different. But Saturn in Ask the Answer's chart rules the 7th house of one-to-one relationships, and Venus rules the 5th house of children. So what this tells me is that any spin-offs from Ask the Answer aren't likely to work, that it's really an entity that's going to remain childless, and it's going to be a one of its kind, a one and only. The third and final challenge in Ask the Answer's chart, and isn't really a challenge, it's a blessing as much as a curse, is that the moon is pretty much strongly square Neptune. Now, in an individual's horoscope, I would say this denotes a really strong intuition, borderline psychic, which is obviously great for a phone line company that deals with these matters, but it also gives the propensity for a degree of addiction and escapism, such as through alcohol, processed food, sugars, etc. However, in a company's chart with the moon in Scorpio, giving an in-depth psychological understanding of what makes other people feel the way they do, squaring Neptune, it does give a deep-rooted intuitive insight into human behaviour. Now, on the positive side, the Sun, when Ask the Answer was born, was pretty strongly sextile Uranus. When the Sun and Uranus are together, it's not so much psychic and or intuitive, it's precognitive. That means it works with time. And if Ask the Answer were an individual, I'd say you're 5 seconds ahead of the curve, able to spot when a bus is coming around the corner or when someone's just about to say something, which in the chart of a astrological and tarot reading phone service gives a pretty good ability to be able to preempt individuals and to kind of know what they're going to say. In Ask the Answer's chart also, Pluto is sextiling the midheaven, which gives it a public image. The midheaven is public image and Pluto is stamina. So Pluto sextile the midheaven gives Ask the Answer the opportunity to be able to help individuals get to the bottom of their roots and problems, and to be able to be projecting a better public image into the outside world as someone who's stronger and more powerful in themselves. Also in the chart, the moon was trining Uranus, which adds to the influence of the Sun sextile Uranus. It not only gives an element of time and precognitiveness, it also gives a deep-rooted intuition and the confidence to know that what one is saying is right. And then we get to the really strong aspects. In Ask the Answer's horoscope, the moon and Mercury were sextile. A sextile is an aspect of opportunity. The moon in Scorpio is the psychological, intuitive insight, and Mercury in Capricorn is the ability to use logic and rationality in a mental way that gets to the bottom of things and keeps oneself down to earth. When the moon is sextile Mercury, it brings a true blend of mind and feeling, of intellect and emotion. And the readers from Ask the Answer do seem to have this quality about them. Jupiter was opposite the ascendant in Ask the Answer's birth chart, and this is a lovely aspect. It specifically suggests that one-to-one situations, one-to-one relationship patterns are always going to be more beneficial for the individual client and for Ask the Answer than group associations, but which is great for a phone line and a private consultation with your own personal astrologer, tarot reader, psychic or medium. Mars in Ask the Answer's horoscope is precisely sextile to Ask the Answer's midheaven. It's trine the midheaven. This is glorious. This gives the ability for the individual reader to be able to sometimes just kind of close their eyes, turn that switch off at the back of their head and open their mouth, knowing that the right words will come out. And this does seem to happen in most cases. But most of all, the single best aspect in Ask the Answer's horoscope is at the moment of its birth, there was a phenomenon known as a grand trine in the horoscope. The Sun was trine Saturn. Saturn was trine Ceres, and Ceres was trine the Sun. The Sun is about identity and individuality, yet in Ask the Answer's chart, it's in the area of the sky that deals with one-to-one relationships. So the focus on the client as the individual, as the person who's needful of help is great. Saturn rules Capricorn, which is where the Sun was. So that's a great aspect, Sun trine Saturn. It brings an energy of stability, solidity, down to earth, grounded and rootedness, something that is steady, solid and reliable. Ceres is the asteroid of nurturing. It's the way you were nurtured, the way you nurture others, the way you nurture yourself, and the way you let others nurture you. And with the Sun trine Saturn, the purpose of this horoscope in many ways is to nurture other people in a way that is solid, stable, down to earth and grounded. And when you put all these three planets together, Ceres in Taurus, nurturing through sensuality, Saturn in Virgo, structure through order, focus and concentration, and the Sun in Capricorn, identity through discipline, hard work and success. You get the idea of a being, in this case a corporate entity, Ask the Answer, whose purpose is to nurture the world in a community way, in a way that is solid, stable, down to earth and grounded. Ask the Answer has been through a lot in its last 10 years since its formation. It's now looking in a much healthier place, and indeed over the coming year I expect Ask the Answer to go through a number of very positive transformations, and maybe even a form of, I said it wouldn't have children, but there is an aspect concerning pregnancy in Ask the Answer's horoscope over 2018, so it wouldn't surprise me if it did have one or two offshoots over the coming year. Whether they survive or not is another matter. But there's certainly no sign of challenges or difficulties, and it's pretty clear to me from my astrological perspective that Ask the Answer is going to continue putting out reliable, quality forecasts to 98% of the people who come to it in a way that's going to be cohesive, self-empowering, holistic, strong and good for the individual, and as a result good for the world. Happy birthday, Ask the Answer. It's been a privilege to be associated with you over this last 10 years. I was there at the start. I'll be there for the long-term future. Happy birthday, folks. Catch you next time, world. Bye-bye.